I'm leaving the UK soon, but I'm wrapping up my 5th year of living here all summer with my husband. And don't get into semantics about what summer is. Basically, we live here in Cheltenham, Gloucestershire for 3 to 5 months each year. And the rest of the year, we live near Dallas, Texas. We are in a very privileged situation of being able to live in two great places but in the best time of year in each of them. So, my reactions and my thoughts on what it's like to live in the UK are definitely colored by that. And also, we live in a specific place in the UK and a specific place in the US. So, I'm going to share with you my reflections on what I think I love the most about living in England and what I miss the most when I'm not here based on my experience of the two places I live. But if you live in Britain or if you live in the US, you probably live in a different area. And maybe you live there all year long and not just when the weather's the best. So share with me your experiences in the comments that are different than what I'm about to share with you. But here's my personal opinion on 5 things that I love about living here in England and that I miss when I'm not here. Now, I have talked about why I love living in the UK in the past. I have a couple prior videos that I did my first summer here and then a couple years after that. Those focus on kind of some quirky and obscure things and also just a lot of little things. I'm trying to keep this wrap up pretty high level of the big reasons why I feel so at home when I'm here in England. So, jumping into the 5 things, the first one I will mention is walking a lot. I love the fact that I am outdoors and walking around a lot when I'm here. I really, really love the walkability of British towns. So the cities are also great, as are a lot of big cities, because there's public transit and pedestrianized areas and things like that. But I feel like the towns of Britain are definitely more walkable than most of the towns in the US. I live in suburbia in Texas, and I could walk to a grocery store. It would probably be a pretty unpleasant walk because of the weather and the traffic and the distance. And I could get to one supermarket. But here, where I live in Cheltenham, I can walk to 2 different supermarkets. In fact, I did today walk to 2 different supermarkets, and it's just a lovely experience. If you watch my Things I Love About Living in Cheltenham video, I'll link it in the description. I literally take you on a walk with me walking to Waitrose on this disused railway kind of walking biking path that's there. And it's just like walking through a park. I love it. And then another route that I can walk going to and from Waitrose is just walking on some neighborhood streets. And the flowers are so great. I mean, that's kind of a subset of the thing I love is just the plants and flowers. Yes, we go to gardens a lot. Ian loves gardens. So we go to manor houses and National Trust gardens and things like that a lot. Men love, love, love the plants. But I also appreciate just the small things. The fact that there's 2 gardeners in my neighborhood who somehow managed to have flowers blooming for months, all summer long. There's various things blooming. Every year I come here, I'm so excited to see the magenta peonies that bloom in May in this one garden. But yet, even here we are at the end of July, there's other things blooming there. And there's one building that has all kinds of rose bushes. And I'm going to show you some videos of what I saw today in that garden of all the different roses that were blooming. And there have been different ones, beautiful, fragrant roses blooming 4 months, the whole time I've been here in that same garden. So that's just a treat. And also walking back from the supermarket, I appreciate the architecture that's all around me when I'm here. I'll show you a photo of Cheltenham Ladies College. Well, one of the many, many buildings that belong to Cheltenham Ladies College that's here. And the parish church that's just down the road. Beautiful buildings. And that's what surrounds me when I'm here. And when I'm in Texas, it's kind of cookie cutter suburbia. It's a bunch of suburban homes and big box stores that have been built in the last 20 years or so, and it's just not the same. So I really appreciate that about being here. If you want to see what my neighborhood in Texas looks like, I will link to an old video that we did. It was a snow drone video one winter in Texas when we had a freakish, huge snowstorm. But Ian did some drone photography of our neighborhood. So you can see what I mean of how different it is in that video. The next point that I wanted to bring up is food. I am food obsessed. If this is the first video of mine you've ever watched, then maybe that's a newsflash to you. But if you've watched any other videos, that'll be pretty obvious. I love food, and I love the food here in Britain. I love everything from English fish and chips to an afternoon tea, but I also just really love going to pubs. I love that I can go and get indulgent, yummy foods, but also there's so many healthy options here. If you want to eat vegetarian things, they have really interesting, creative, delicious vegetarian options. And for my friends who've come to visit who are gluten-free or have other dietary restrictions, there's just so much good food here. No matter what way you eat, there are good things to eat here in Britain. And the supermarket food is just better. Everything. The butter, the milk, the eggs, the cheese, exclamation point, the cheese. I mean, I can buy halloumi here. Halloumi is so delicious. And that's a hard thing to find in Texas. The quality of the local cheeses, it's just so much better. So I do miss that. I do. There's a few things that are better about food in Texas, but it's a pretty short list. Avocados are better. But most things are better here, and I definitely miss that when I go back to Texas. And I always look forward to coming back next year and eating at pubs again. And this winter, when I'm home in Texas, I will be editing my Best Pubs of the Cotswolds video, the sequel, installment 2, of some wonderful pubs that we've eaten at this year. So I can't wait to share that with you. Stay tuned. Make sure you're subscribed and click the bell. The third thing that I'll mention is history. And I know a lot of Americans talk about this when they come to Britain, like, wow, everything's so old everywhere I go. Things are just so much older than the US. Everything is. I know that that's a big kind of culture shock that people have, but truly, I do love the history that's everywhere. And that's saying a lot for me because I am not a history buff. Having had this YouTube channel for 5.5 years, I've done so much more historical research and historical learning and discussing history than I ever have before in my life. So I've learned a lot, but I've truly come to appreciate all the history that there is here. And what that means is there's so many interesting places to go all around me. When people from the US, my American friends, come to visit us here in Cheltenham, I say, what would you like to do? Here are some options. And you won't believe all the really cool things that there are to go see within a 30-minute drive of here. And then if you open it up to like an hour, a little over an hour drive, it's just like countless really cool places that you can go visit. And I don't have that in Texas. In fact, my dear friend Emma, who you've met in previous videos, she's from Wales and currently lives in Herefordshire. She's actually coming to visit me in Texas. And I hope that she's not too disappointed about the fact that there aren't that many wonderful touristy fun destinations to visit when you come to Texas. It's just no comparison. So I will miss being able to just go to any random village or town in the Cotswolds and walk in a parish church and find historical treasures of interesting tidbits anywhere you go, and town halls and pubs that are centuries old. It's just all so interesting, so charming, so captivating, and something I really appreciate. One of my favorite things about Britain. Another thing that I really love about living here in England is the people. Everyone from neighbors, people at church, people I've met traveling, YouTube friends. I have many fellow YouTube creators that I've met over the last several years that I've been on YouTube who live here in Britain, and I've been able to get together with several of them in past years, and then just in the past couple of weeks, I've met up with 3 different groups of friends. That's been so fun. And in general, I find British people to be friendly and helpful, and even in a big city like London. I don't know that this would happen in New York, for example, but we were in London showing some American friends around, and Ian is usually a tour guide because he knows London really well. So we'll be on some walking tour, the Ian walking tour, and he'll be pointing things out and talking about this or that, points of interest. And on this one trip, I think it was 3 separate times, we had absolute strangers just eavesdrop, jump in the conversation, and add in some information about whatever Ian was talking about. And it wasn't in a rude or judgy way. They were sincerely trying to be helpful. Many times people will, on the tube, many times we will be asked if we need help finding something. If we're like sitting there staring at the map and trying to figure out where to go, people who are sitting there on the underground train with us will say, "Where are you trying to go?" And they'll give us advice. So I do find people to be very helpful. And that's a good thing because honestly, not all British people are friendly and helpful. And I have so many wonderful people that are part of my community here in the Magenta Otter tribe. But then I also have people who comment anytime I have a video that does well and gets more than 500 views. I get a fair number of grumpy old British people just picking at me about the dumbest things. So I have to say I'm really grateful that the people I meet in real life are so wonderful, because it makes up for some random people on the internet. One little thing that I would like to clarify before I wrap up this video is that even though I'm leaving the UK in a week, that doesn't mean that my videos will be leaving the UK. Every year, I have the same experience where viewers come back in the spring because they're like, "Oh, you're back in the UK now, and I can watch your videos of the UK." When I'm here, sometimes I'm filming 3 videos a day when I'm out traveling around places. So I have so many cool castles and cathedrals and cities and towns and museums and other things that I want to share with you about Britain in the coming months. So just because I'm leaving England, just because I am going beyond the borders of the UK, does not mean that the British travel vlogs are ending. So please stick with me. And the last thing that I will mention is something that I've mentioned before on my channel, but it really is such a big deal to me. And that is every time, and this has been going on for decades, ever since I've been coming to England with Ian for the last 30 plus years. Every time I get here, I have the same experience when I first arrive, and I leave London where we arrive at the airport and head out into the countryside. The first time I see rolling green hills dotted with white sheep, I just feel this sense of joy. And then I see a little parish church somewhere with its square Norman tower jutting above the horizon, and I will think, I'm home, and I will just breathe this sigh and feel so blissful, and my blood pressure lowers, and that's just a unique feeling that I have here. I think that's what makes me a dyed-in-the-wool Anglophile, that I just feel so emotional about those things. And it's a big deal to me, and that's why this is my second home. And when I get back to the US and I'm having to go on boring walks around suburbia by the cookie cutter houses with little lawns that are dried up and don't have pretty flowers, I will miss my summer in England. I will miss the travels around the UK and Europe that I've had. Speaking of which, I'm leaving England in a week, and we are headed to Ireland for about 2.5 or 3 weeks. And one of those weeks I will be traveling with Ian, of course, and our son Trent. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then later in August, we will be going to Scandinavia for the first time. First time in Ireland and first time in Scandinavia. So we'll be going to Norway for a couple weeks, and then Sweden for a few days, and then even Finland for a day. And while we're in Norway, we will be there for several days with our son Weston and his wife. So we're so excited to see countries we've never been to before, to be able to spend time with each of our sons. And I look forward to sharing those videos with you eventually. So stay tuned. Thanks so much for your support. Thanks so much for watching this video, and do something good in the world today.